All right, if I can have your attention in the Media Center, we're going to go ahead and get started with our media availability in advance of the 38th Annual Go Bowling 250. We're now joined by Justin Allgaier, driver the number 7 BRANDT Professional Agricultural Chevrolet, and Christopher Bell, driver the number 20 Rheem Toyota. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get you a mic. Again, if you do have a question, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll go ahead and get you a mic. We'll start here in the back.
Kyle McFadden, theracingexperts.com for Chris. I'm sure you've heard about the terrible news of Greg Hodnett last night. How will you remember Greg as a person and a race car driver, and what do these tracks need to do to be more preventative of fatalities?
I don't know, man. It's a tough question. Starting on just on the positive note there, Greg was, one of the greats in sprint car racing. He's been around for a very long time, and I got to race against him for several years, just all across the country. And probably my fondest memory of him was whenever we were out running the winter heat in Yuma, Arizona, a couple years ago. Me and Greg had to do some media stuff together, and he was just an awesome guy, and obviously a fantastic racer. And it's crazy to think about all the racers that we've lost, and we've lost Greg, Brian Clausen, Jason Johnson, and all three of them are great sprint car racers with a lot of experience. So I don't know, it's tough, but the racetracks, the sport itself is doing a great job of making sure that drivers are as safe as they can. The Outlaw has mandated a couple more making the cars a little bit safer. They updated the rules this year, so that'll take place next year. So that's a really good step in the right direction. And then obviously the tracks will continue to learn from their incidents.
Do you have other questions?
They should put water barrels next to track openings, or cities to track openings.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for me to say. I think gates are the safest thing. Like, just any way to shut off the racetrack to make a wall continuous all the way around their perimeters. That's probably the best way to go, instead of having openings or water barrels or anything like that.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? We'll go up front to Chris.
Chris Knight, catchfence.com. I know you guys know what to expect here this weekend at Richmond for the most part, but next weekend, the Roval. You guys get a couple hours of Xfinity practice on Thursday. Is that enough time for you guys to get your cars dialed in, and what do you guys expect in that race?
I mean, we ran Indy with no practice. Obviously, I'd been there before, but he'd never raced there before, right? I don't think. So, I mean...
The plate race helped that, though.
Yeah, the plate race did help with that. But, I think, the Roval is definitely unique. It's interesting. It is going to be a challenge to learn in a short amount of time. I think, obviously, enough Cup guys and enough cars have run around there now that we kind of have an idea of, okay, this is what we're up against. But until, we start practice, I think all of us are kind of wondering, what it's going to be like. But I think that, from my end, the road races this year have been fantastic. Watching them, they've been exciting. There's been a lot of stuff going on, and I think that as we see things progress and as we see this racetrack kind of progress, I think all day you're going to see people get faster, and the race should be interesting for sure. So I'm excited about it. It is different, but I think it's going to be fun.
For me, I obviously going to a new racetrack where the teams have never been before is, I think that's the biggest part. We have simulators and, like you said, Cup footage that we can watch and study and be as prepared as we can be. But the teams rely so much on notes. Like every week we go to new racetracks, but they already have their setups built from years and years and years past. So roughly you have your setup. So that'll be big for us going into next week on Thursday, just to try and get in the ballpark. But I love the idea of having less practice. Like if it was up to me, I would just say you get one set of tires, ideally go out and make a 20-30 lap run, and then adjust on your car from there and go qualify and race. So I'm all for less practice, so I'm excited to get there and never seen the place.
You could just drive the 4-car. We only get one set of tires. That's every week, so I don't know what the question was. So crazy? big blue curbs. See them things the other day? Off the exit of the bus stop, there's 2 of them. So like, you hit the first one, you're gonna land on the second one. No simulator for me. I got iRacing. It's on a wooden kitchen chair and bolted to my desk. So we'll see. We'll clunk around and finish top 10 probably.
And we've now been joined by Ross Chastain, driver of the number 42 DC Solar Chevrolet. We'll go up front to Jeff.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. I wanted to follow up on Kyle's question, except for you, Justin. Obviously, it seems like, from the little I know about it, like World of Outlaws and other sprint car organizations are mandating different bars and things like that to try to improve it. So as those cars have gotten at least somewhat safer from what they were, is it now up to the tracks to try to, is that the next step, is the tracks to fix what they have going on?
You know, as Christopher kind of mentioned, the series obviously has done a great job of trying to update in teams and drivers and tracks and series. I mean, that's one of the things that I don't fault NASCAR for at all, is that we do a great job with not only making the race cars safer, but making the track safer. They work directly with the tracks. You know, they're doing everything they can do to make our sport safer. And sometimes it can be a major challenge and a major headache because, I mean, you look at the current configuration we have right now. There was some running changes, I think, last year you had to kind of make and fix our cars and change our cars. And it's hard to do all of that. You know, once you have a structure of a car or a team, it's hard to kind of make a running change. And I think that's the one thing with whether it be sprint cars, midgets, Silver Crown cars, or you go to even late models and modifieds. A lot of guys have and are able to go to the racetrack because they have equipment from years past. They have cars. They've got, you know, and they're updating. Don't get me wrong, but they're buying cars from, you know, if a guy runs on a local Friday or Saturday night, he might be buying a car from a World of Outlaws driver or from a team that runs a lot more races. And I think that you know, the thing that's probably more interesting to me is that it seems like we're in a time where we're going faster. We're doing things more efficiently. We're better. The tracks obviously are doing what they can to survive and stay open. And unfortunately, I think it's just causing a really weird time, right? Like, we've kind of hit the max of where we can go as far as speed and sustainability of these cars. And the racetracks are obviously going to have to do some things, but I think it's on everybody, right? We get in this habit, and it's no different than here. You want light, low, and left, right? Because that's the fastest. We know that, and we want them low to the ground, and we want the best aerodynamics. But it's hard to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give up all of that to make my car safer if nobody else is doing it. You know, that's the thing, right? Nobody wants to be at a disadvantage. Nobody wants to make their stuff different if nobody else is going to follow along. And as drivers, you know, we're going to climb in a car that the car owner's like, hey, if these guys aren't doing it, you shouldn't do it. Now I'm putting myself at risk, even though I think, well, in the back of my head, man, maybe I shouldn't do that. My paycheck or the money that I'm going to make from the race comes from being in that car. So unless I just have a ton of money and I can own my own stuff and do it the way I want to, and I'm okay with running, maybe not even making the show. Now it's everybody has to give and take to make this thing work. And, you know, obviously with Greg, I mean, Christopher mentioned it, fantastic guy. I mean, probably one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, come in contact with, and a great racer. I mean, the guy's stats are incredible when you sit down and look at it. So, we've lost too many guys in the sport of auto racing over time, and it's a natural part of our sport, unfortunately. But I think that we all have to be in agreement that everybody's in this together, and we got to make it better, whether it's here at NASCAR or local Friday and Saturday night racing.
Just to back up what he said, you know, with the Outlaws mandating more safety rules, like that's the best case scenario for them to go out and say, hey, we're adding 2 bars to the structure of the cage, which I think it was David Gravel this year crashed at Volusia. So he put on those bars and he didn't run well with them, so he cut them back out. So now the Outlaws have mandated that and say, hey, everyone's running them. So I applaud them for doing that.
We'll go up front, and then we'll go back to Zach.
Zach Cattane's already kicking the tires.net. Catherine Legg is running her first oval this in her entire career, and her big mentor is Andy Lally. For you three, I want to know who your big mentor was, maybe in your entire career or possibly just in the Xfinity Series.
I mean, growing up, it was my dad, for sure. We didn't know how to race or anything, but that was what he taught me everything. And then once I got to this level, Had a mutual friend and knew Todd Bodine a little bit. So getting into the truck series, he was the man, and still is if he was out there. So he would talk to me a lot. And then I lived in Hornaday for a little bit, so a lot of the older guys were, you live with a guy, he pick his brain quite a bit. So eventually he'd tell me to go to bed, quit asking him questions. So that's a couple of the guys. I mean, there's too many to count, really. I mean, I take in a lot of information from anybody I can and kind of pick what I want to remember, selective hearing, and kind of come up with my own deal.
I think it's the same way. You listen to a lot of people and you come in contact with a lot of people. I've been lucky enough to have teammates come and go that, some are obviously more helpful than others. But mine growing up was Ken Schrader, probably the guy that helped me the most. And then once I got to the sport of NASCAR, honestly, Carl Edwards was the guy that I kind of leaned on. We both grew up driving the Mittler brother truck, and that's kind of where I got to. I mean, I grew up racing dirt tracks and being around him all the time. But when we were both, when I was driving the Mittler brothers truck, he helped me a lot just because he knew, some of the things that I was going through driving the '63, and just a great guy. Somebody that would help at a moment's notice. So I think that's what makes this sport so much fun is that you got guys that guys and gals that will help you, kind of get through whatever you're going through. And I think a lot of drivers are willing to give information, but you got to be willing to go ask them. And as a young driver, or especially as a rookie, sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do. So kind of getting over that and going and doing it. But I think it's cool that Catherine's running her first oval. It's hard to imagine somebody that's as successful as she's been on the road race side that she's just never been on an oval. Growing up as oval racers, I mean, it's kind of the same for us, may not have ever been on a road course, but this is a cool place to come and get your first laps, although I'm not sure it's the easiest place, but it has to be cool.
She actually asked me after practice some questions, and I was like, you need to go find somebody better than me. So don't do what I'm doing.
For me, my biggest mentor would be Rick Ferkel. He gave me my first shot in a sprint car whenever I was 16 years old, and I lived with him for a while, and he taught me a lot of just, the mentality of racing for a living, how to be a professional race car driver, and so he's my biggest mentor.
We'll go next to Zach, then Dustin, and finish out up front with Lee.
Zach Albert, NASCAR.com for Justin. You're going to be racing alongside your boss man and teammate Dale Jr. tonight. Seems like one of the goals that he had coming into this was, just to have fun and, perform obviously, but also just to have fun at it. Have you gotten that vibe out of him just since he's kind of arrived at the track and ready for this?
Yeah, we were all laughing this morning. He took a picture and posted it, I think, to Instagram, and it said, we're all smiling because we haven't been in the car yet. And it's funny because I think he is genuinely coming to have fun, but I'm pretty sure when he bolted that helmet on, he was like back to old Dale and ready to go racing. And I can assure you that his fun will end if he's standing in victory lane, right? So like that's just his mindset is he wants to run good. Obviously, he's taken on the role as a broadcaster and ran with it. I mean, the whole booth right now, they're doing a great job, and there's a lot of personality in that booth that aren't necessarily all normal broadcaster type. So kind of managing all of that has been cool to watch, and they've definitely done a great job. So I'm interested to see, kind of flipping that switch and coming back. And he's the one thing that I've noticed about Dale that I've really enjoyed watching is he has seen a lot of stuff from the TV booth that he didn't necessarily see as a racer or doing your job. I mean, we get caught up and we go to the car, we get in the car, we do our thing, and we've got other stuff we got going on, but you don't really see anything other than what you're doing. I mean, you're looking at lap times, but you're not really seeing the grand picture. And I think for Dale, that's been cool. So I think he's got more respect for it, and I think he's able to learn a lot more actually sitting up there, which is kind of unique. But I'm excited to have him back out there. I don't want so I ran second to him all night. The race that he won, I think it was 2006. I ran second to him the entire race, and I finally got ahead of him and then got crashed. So I'm hopeful that we can battle it out again and have a fair shot to go all the way to the end.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Christopher, I know you were talking earlier this week on Nate's podcast just about how much dirt racing you've been doing this year and things you've got planned. As you referenced, some of the fatalities that have happened in that sport, a lot of times when something like that can happen, it's a natural pushback to pull some of you guys back. Do you worry about how something like this might affect your schedule in the future, or what you might have to do with bosses in kind of explaining this helps you and you feel like this is a good benefit?
Well, the best thing that I got going for me right now is his teammate, old Kyle Larson. He's done an excellent job of promoting sprint car racing and proving that the more that he can sprint car race, the better off he is. And I feel like I'm in that same boat. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer your question other than the fact that it makes me a lot better race car driver whenever I can race more. That's the hardest part of NASCAR racing for me, is having a 30 race schedule whenever you're used to a 100 race schedule, because you don't have enough time, or you don't get to redeem yourself if you make mistakes. It's great if you're winning, but if you're not winning, it's a long time in between races. So I enjoy racing.
We'll finish up with Lee in the front.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. Speaking about mentoring, Christopher, Jeffrey Earnhardt wants to make his Chili Bowl debut in January. For a 29-year-old rookie, what advice would you give to him, how to compete? And, I mean, Justin, you've been there too, either one of you, but what would your advice be for somebody coming in at his age?
Just to, if he's serious about it, he needs to go make laps. Like the Chili Bowl, you get no laps. You get two, actually, I think it's only one 5-lap practice session on Monday now before you start your prelim night. So if he is serious about it, I really hope that he takes the time to go get laps. I know Justin's done that a lot over the years.
Yeah, even for me, being able to race a midget a lot over my career, I still, like, you go to Chili Bowl and it's like, man, we need to go make laps somewhere, just because you just want to kind of submerge yourself in those cars, and they're fun, but they are unique. They're very different. The way that you sit, the way that you drive them. Landon did it at Indy, and they were actually really smart about it. They went and got laps the day before, 2 days before, was able to kind of make the transition. So I think it's a cool thing. Obviously, the Chili Bowl has proceeded to keep growing and growing and growing year after year, and even when a lot of the people that were Chili Bowl kind of like that was their thing, right? They're like, we don't want it to grow anymore, but it's gained so much traction that it's incredible. So to see other people come in that have never driven that type of a car come in and try to do it, it's a challenge. If he chooses to do it, it's going to be a big challenge, I can promise you. But it's probably one of the funnest weeks of racing you'll ever get to go to.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and good luck this weekend.
Good afternoon. Want to introduce John Harbuck, president of Strike 10 Entertainment, and Dennis Bickmeyer, president of Richmond Raceway, for an announcement. And Dennis?
Well, thank you, Brant. And first off, I just want to welcome everybody to the Virginia Business Systems Media Center. So it's great to see this facility completed. Great to see you guys all hard at work as well. We're very proud of what we've done here at the racetrack through Richmond Raceway Reimagined, and looking forward to a great weekend this weekend. But we want to turn our attention quickly to next year and announce an extension of our partnership with Go Bowling as the entitlement sponsor for our NASCAR Xfinity Series playoff race next year as well. So we appreciate that. We got a great relationship with Go Bowling. We hosted the PWBA Tour Championship last year. And then again, this past Wednesday, had an incredible event on Wednesday night. You'll see some of the finalists, the women professional finalists, over the next couple of days, certainly tonight at the Go Bowling 250. But we look forward to tonight's race, our first ever playoff race. Happy to kick off the Xfinity Series playoffs as well. These guys are great partners. John's here with me and tell you a little bit about what they do in the sport. But working with these guys has been really incredible for us, because they have a great passion about what we do here in NASCAR, and the fan bases that we have that follow NASCAR. The bowling fans as well. I think at one point everyone's gone bowling at some point. So we love working with these guys. We're going to continue to have a lot of fun with this partnership. And if you get a chance, run over to the Old Dominion building. We got 4 bowling lanes in there, and I was in there a little while ago, and there are a bunch of people in there bowling. It's open up to the fans today. And tomorrow, our military hospitality is inside the Old Dominion building, where these guys have built 4 incredible lanes. And I know I'm looking forward to going in there maybe after the Go Bowling 250 tonight and play a little bit. So,
yeah,
John?
Come on in. Great. Well, thank you. Glad to be here. We're excited to be announcing the extension of our agreement with Richmond Raceway to continue the Go Bowling 250 next year in 2019. We've had that will be our third year. So last year we were here. We weren't the entitlement partner, but we had the PWBA Tour Championship last year, and we had such a great event that we really felt compelled to have an agreement this year, and we're glad to extend it into 2019. A little bit about us. I'm the president of Strike 10 Entertainment. We reside in the International Bowling Campus in Arlington, Texas. We're right there by AT&T Stadium and Six Flags and Globe Park. It's the central hub of all the things going on sports-wise in the Arlington, Dallas, Fort Worth area. We're happy to extend this agreement. What a lot of people don't know about our sport is that at that facility we have the Bowling Proprietors Association of America, which is the 3,400 members, proprietors throughout the country that we serve. We have the United States Bowling Congress, which we have 1.5 million certified members who bowl. If you take the combined total of USGA and USTA, the two governing bodies for golf and tennis combined, we have more certified bowlers. We have 67 million casual bowlers who bowl throughout the year. So bowling is alive, it's well, it's vibrant. You see conversions of centers all over the country that are upgrading their facilities, much like Richmond Raceway did here to the infill, the fantastic renovation that you guys did. The bowling industry is doing that same way. It's all about experiences. When you go bowling, you typically have a good time, and that's what we're about. GoBowling.com is our website, and Go Bowling is our brand. It's a call to action, and we're trying to build top amount of awareness. And the reason why that we're doing our NASCAR partnerships is demographically, NASCAR fans and bowlers are kind of the same people. And so when we go to these events, we like to put up bowling lanes. We're entitlement partners with Watkins Glen for the Monster Energy Cup Series. We just had a race in August, had a fantastic event. So we want to extend that experience to consumers and fans, and this platform allows us to have a national platform to just preach the gospel according to bowling and encourage people to go bowling and remind them to go bowling. So any questions? Or?
Yeah, with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Cole Custer driving the Go Bowling car,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. We have a relationship with Stuart Haas here. Cole Custer's driving the 00 Go Bowling Ford Mustang. We had Eric Almirola at our race in Watkins Glen, who drove the number 10 Ford Fusion. And so we're happy to continue that relationship with Stuart Haas. And while we haven't signed a deal for 2019, we're back here, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Well, thank you very much. We look forward to the first playoff race in Richmond history tonight with the Go Bowling 250. And it's actually going to be the first time also in Victory Lane, the new Victory Lane tonight as well.
And it's an awesome looking trophy, so make sure you check it out and let's go bowling.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.